Wow. Oh man. Like,
Is that Romania? I see Albania.
good, good, good. We got some Singaporeans in the house. My Singapore family and my glitch family from all around the world. How are you guys tonight? Are you guys excited? Who's excited? Who's excited? Who's excited? Spain, Armenia. Oh wow. Let's go, let's go. All right, guys, let's go. So tonight, I wanted to kind of like bring on Evan as well. As you guys know, Evan's my younger brother. We have been working together for a really long time, right? So I wanted to kind of like bring him up as well, kind of like to chop it up with you guys, to kind of share our experience, our journey, because I feel like part of the journey is like learning from lessons, learning from failures, right? And if I can share our journey and our stories, and if there's any part of it that can help you avoid some of the pitfalls, I feel it's really worth it. Do you guys agree? Would you guys agree? Yes? Yes? All right. Let's play up the chat, right? So if I engage with you guys, I want to kind of like hear you guys typing there, so I know, because sometimes my audio might be a little bit choppy. I'm not sure. So if you guys have any questions later on, we'll take some time to also answer any questions, right? So before we start, right, I want to kind of I think that's a little bit something. Never mind. Okay. So before we go, I want to kind of like get Evan to kind of like share a little bit more about his journey on, because like heads up, Evan, when he was younger, he never envisioned to be an entrepreneur, right? I will let him share his story so that you guys can hear it from his point of view, how his journey slowly transformed, right? And all right, Evan, please take it away.
Right. So I think against like popular belief, a lot of people think that you start off as an entrepreneur right away, right? So actually, to share a little bit on my story, my background. So I think most of you guys know, maybe not everyone know, that Singaporeans actually have to serve 2 years of army, right? Just now I see some Singaporeans in the house. So actually, that's already a huge disadvantage compared to other people across, U.S., Europe, maybe some countries in Europe as well need to serve. But so when I was after O levels, right, in Singapore, which I was around 16, back then, unlike a lot of people who are actually glitches in here that start off like their journey 16, 17, 18, right? I'm always like super surprised to see all those people that young. Whenever I see that, I'm like, wow, what was I doing back then? 16, 17, I was just still playing games. I was very into online gaming back then, super into online gaming. I used to play World of Warcraft. I used to play League of Legends. Not sure any World of Warcraft or League of Legends fans in here. And then when I was 18, I went to the army. Right, I was 18. I went to the army. It's a mandatory 2 years full time. There's no way that you can actually avoid that unless you want to give up your citizenship, right? Which is pretty much an impossible thing to do, right? Singapore is in fact one of the best passport in the world. I think it's like always top three, together with Japan, Germany. So that's of course not in the question, right? So I was like always gaming. I have always been in the gaming. I'm not sure if Steve actually shared with you the story before. We were taking 24-hour shift, right? Like when a new server of a new online MMORPG came up, we were taking 12-hour shifts, right? I would do 12 in the I would do like 12 in the afternoon, 1 in the afternoon until like 11 at night, and then like Steve would take over from 11 p.m. to the next morning until I'm back from school. We were pretty crazy. So I think I believe some of you guys have heard that story before. So we were pretty crazy back then, right? So after all those during army, I in fact like high school, army, I didn't really know what to do. right? To be upfront, right? I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. All I knew was gaming, right? I was a challenger on League of Legends, right? I was really good in games. I pick up games really quick. But back then in those days, it wasn't really a viable career, right? It wasn't like nowadays like pro gamers get paid millions of dollars, right? So after my army, I was already by the time I finished army, I was already like 20 over years old, 20, 21, maybe almost 21, right? 18, 2 years, you get out around 20. So I get out I get out of that. So natural route. Steve dropped out of university. So naturally my mom would say, hey, um, um, go to uni, right? That's the most natural route, right? The the sort of natural route for most people in Singapore. Go to uni, go to after finish uni, graduate. Even back when I was in uni, right? Of course, back then Steve already started sort of his entrepreneurship journey. I was still in like sort of the bot route, right? I was studying, I was drinking every day with my friends, in and out, spending hours and hours just doing, not really useful stuff back then, right? I wasn't learning new stuff. In fact, I actually did a little bit I learned a little bit on affiliate marketing, but I never pursued further to it. It was kind of unlucky, but so Steve was already sort of like doing his entrepreneurship journey back then, but along the way he sort of put me into like to sort of help him out with some projects, get me a little bit exposure. But along the way he keeps on seeding me, right? Hey, the entrepreneurship journey here and there. But it still didn't hit to me, right? I was like, to me, I still wanted to be uh all I sort of thought of back then was I wanted to travel the world. I love traveling. I love like being new places, new countries, and that was it, right? I went through uni. I finished uni, and then it was I remember very vividly. It was around I think my third year or final year in uni. Uh, Sort of like Steve, like sort of like had a failed startup right back then. I'm sure some of you guys have already heard the story. And he sort of like came to me and asked like sort of like what were my plans after university. Like I sort of like say, oh, maybe I had a good internship at L'Oreal back then, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll just get like a marketing brand manager job, start my career in L'Oreal, doing marketing, and that's about it. Right. So my brother, like Steve, like sort of made some good money here and there, right? Even though I think one of his startup failed. And I remember very clearly, like back then, he like saying, he was like sort of showing me like the amount of money he made from some of his e-commerce back then, right? He said, "Oh, I made 100K, in a few months." And and he was just doing the math to me, right? If like let's say you get a 3,000 salary right from the start, how many months would it take you, right, to make the amount of money that I make in a few months? And I was like thinking, I was like, that was sort of like I remember that was one of the first like sort of like trigger to me. I was like, yeah, you're right. To in order for me to actually make that amount of money, it would take me like years, right? And it's a boring job. You just basically going through the system. And how long would it take me to build up a career that would probably make six figure in a year? Probably take a while, right? Of course, but I'm not exactly the super smart investment banking, 10K salary a month right from the get go. So that was one of the first wake up call. I'm not sure, Steve, you remember, like you told me that, right? So that was sort of like the trigger point that got me start to think, right? And of course, I think that was like after I graduated, um, you know, was a time where sometimes it's kind of like a very crazy thing to think about. It was a very sweet timing that sort of like Steve had another failed startup, and he was running through a sort of like a blackout period, like a burnout period. So I was like, I just graduated, and sort of like, I was talking to Steve, and he was like sort of like, hey, you know, do you want to like sort of like go through that route, or do you want to maybe try to, let's work out something together, right? And of course, having sort of like seeding those ideas to me back then, I was like, I have nothing to lose, right? Which is a lot of, I believe, is what a lot of you guys have the chance to do so, right? 16-year old, 17 years old, going through to take that leap of faith and take the leap, that route to try it out, right? At the end of the day, you have nothing to lose. You have time, right? I started my entrepreneurship journey um late. I graduated, I was almost 24, 25, and I never did any entrepreneur before that. It was just like internship here and there, learning here and there. And then we sort of got together, we started doing ecom, and that's how we got started. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But I want to quickly chime in here, right? I'm very fortunate, right, to have a brother to be my mentor, to lead me towards the right direction, right? And I believe equally that is what we're doing here, right? And within Couple Club, to sort of like, at the end of the day, you need to put in the hard work. You need to put in uh, the hours, the long hours, and really just learning about how to become a better entrepreneur. But you need someone to guide you there, right? And I believe most of you guys here have that opportunity, right? So definitely, yeah, take the leap of faith and go for it.
Thanks, Evan. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate you too. So I think what we really want to cover today is like how do we navigate the entrepreneurship journey, right? So I just want Evan to kind of like give everyone a brief kind of like background so everybody understand them, know him better, because Evan kind of has been more like behind the scenes ever since like we transitioned and started working with Capital Club, right? So today, like who here has partners? I just want to understand who here has partners, business partners. Okay. Okay. Good. 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 Wow. So many. All right. No worries. Partners or no partners, no worries. I just want to kind of like understand kind of like the context on who are all our audience right now, right? Okay, good. So I think we have like a 50-50 thing, right? So a lot of times people would ask me, right, is it better being alone, solopreneur, or is it better to be in a business, right? Is it better to be in business with your family, or is it better to be in business with your best friends, or is it better to be in business with someone that's kind of neutral, right? So I'm gonna kind of dissect that and break it down and share with you guys my opinion, right? Understand that everybody would have different opinions on a lot of things, right? Like my role here is not to prove you right or wrong. My point here is just to share with you my take and my point of view on how things works, right? So some of you said, "Oh, Steve, you have two field startups. You're a boss." Like two is like sort of like more publicly known, but I think like there's so many countless failed startups or projects or small investments that just failed, right? That's kind of like how do I say that? It's just so many times that you fail along the side of entrepreneurship. So when I started out, I had a purpose, right? When I started out, I had a purpose on why I wanted to make money, which is why when I shared with you guys, if you guys still remember, or some of you guys aren't like there when I shared on the calls, I mentioned that if you don't know your purpose, or you don't know why you're working so hard, it's gonna be draining. Like you're gonna wake up tired sometimes, but you needed something to push you forward, right? So for me, it's very clear. I needed more money. I needed money to support my family. I needed money to start my business. There's a lot of reasons why I needed more money at the point of time, right? So navigating the entrepreneurship journey was never as easy as, okay, I'm gonna do this, right? It's like it's like someone brand new with no marketing, no society experience, no job experience. I've never worked a job before in my life, right? So it's like so hard for someone to kind of want to get into entrepreneurship compared to right now. So I got into entrepreneurship really early, right? So it's like probably 2014, 2004, sorry, 2004. I got in. I was just trying to like read all the books and all these different things online, all the make money online courses and whatnot. But I think one of the traits that I feel that's really important for an entrepreneur is resilience, right? Resilience is definitely one of the traits that you need to really navigate this journey, because if you don't have resilience, it's gonna be fucking hard. Like there's a joke that I like to say is like, if you're not ready to fucking hustle as an entrepreneur, don't even start, because being an entrepreneur is not like the easy way out, right? It's actually the harder way out, but the outcome, if done well, is going to be very rewarding, right? So I wanted to share this because there's so many startups that I failed, not because the project sucks, but it's also because you don't really have good foresight, right? And all these failures that you've gone through are actually lessons if you have integrated it so that you don't make the same mistakes again, right? So as I was going through my journey, ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs, and when I fall hard, I fall really hard, zero. Like it's like zero or negative, bankrupt, like debt, right? So I think Evan graduated at a very perfect time, I would say, perfect time. Like it was kind of like the time where I kind of like don't really have much money left after I lost everything, right? Like I was so poor that I don't even have money to pay my parking bills, right? And I have to silently drive away because I can't fucking afford paying those bills, and I don't have money to pay my petrol and fuel to get me back to like my mom's place where I have to seek refuge, right? So entrepreneurship is definitely not easy, right? Obviously, but being able to find the right partners, I think it was kind of like my catalyst, right? I think I have all these different partners from the past. A lot of them were kind of like bad. A lot of them were not aligned. So eventually, of course, when I partnered up with Evan, it was kind of a little bit different. Obviously, he was my brother, right? I have someone to trust, someone that to watch my back, right? Obviously, there's a lot of ups and downs as well across our entrepreneurship. But I think when we started out again with e-commerce, so I think we actually started out with Amazon, right, Evan? We started out with Amazon. So the first
Yeah.
product that we actually sold was actually a sex dice, right? So it's a dice that you just roll and you can choose your position with your partner. They have all sorts of different positions that you can choose, right? So we kind of started with that product on Amazon, and we kind of like took it took us a while, like 5 6 months took us a while before we started really like selling the product. Probably it's not a lot, it's probably like 10 20K a month, right? So I think we eventually just said this is too slow, like that money is not good enough, right? And we've realized that there's different markets we can go into, right? And naturally, I think dropshipping has also like less barrier to entry for us at the point of time, right? Because even if you want to scale Amazon at the point of time, you need to have more inventory, right? So when we start doing those, when we starting, not stocks, it's like it's a dice that we sell on Amazon FBA, Amazon fulfilled by Amazon. It's a intimacy product that we sold before, and we started selling all sorts of different products, toys, a lot of different things on Amazon, right? But eventually we thought like it's not as easy as what we think to scale, so we started selling on Facebook ads, and that kind of like got us like our first $1 million within the first 30 days. I was like, oh man, like this is so fast, right? And eventually we kind of started scaling from there. But I want to share with you guys as well. It's like as you are navigating all this entrepreneurship journey, you're gonna start encountering all sorts of different challenges, right? As an entrepreneur, you're gonna start facing a lot of like problems, challenges, betrayals, problems from suppliers, all sorts of different problems, right? And the thing here is like, how can you navigate this, right? How can you navigate this if you don't know where you're going, right? So, Evan, when we kind of started out that time, right? Can you share a little bit more with them? Like, what is what? How do we work? I want you to share how crazy do we work when we're starting out, right? Because I don't think a lot of people here understand what does it really take, right, to be on the path of entrepreneurship. What kind of resilience, what kind of determination, what kind of consistency, what kind of focus, what kind of sacrifices do we need, right? So I want you to kind of share a little bit more with the community so that they do understand. And of course, kind of like what kind of like when we started out, all these different roles that we play as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, sure. So before I touch base on that, I just want to quickly say, sometimes in life, I believe it's the right person, the right time, at the right place, right? Some of you guys may think, oh, I met the wrong partners, or maybe it's not the right time, and that's 100%, right? So most of the time, right, in fact, some of the times, when we go through adversities, right, it just might not be the right time for that right project, right? You may have the best product, you may have the best things, but at the end of the day, it might not succeed in the end, right? So, back to Steve's question, right? When we started out, right, the kind of grit, the kind of consistency that we put into the business was day in and day out, right? Day in, day out. Uh, there were no weekends, right? Weekends is a scam, right? Basically, there's 7 days. Uh, every week we put in the hours day in, day out, right? It was learning the business, especially right from the start, right? Steve already had 8 years of head start, or maybe 7 years, or maybe even more, right? So, of course, to me, it was me needing to do a lot of catching up work, right? I need to catch up years and years of experience. Of course, whatever I didn't know, I need to ask Steve, and but Steve, guided me the right way. But I needed to put in, right. I also hear stories from different friends who also tried to bring in their brother, guide them the way, but was not willing to put in the hours, even though uh, it was right there, right in front of them for them to actually get it. Right. So when we started out e-commerce, most of my experience came from only like the first year running Amazon, running sex dices, running some toys. Yeah, we made some profit, right? Nothing we felt it was too slow. And then we went on to do drop shipping, right? Drop shipping was where the real fun started for us, because every day, running ads was a very dynamic thing, right? You run something today, you'll be able to see the results in an hour, in 2 hours, and take it a day, look at it, analyze it, and make your next chess move, essentially, right? And of course, learning everything we can find. And trust me, back then, YouTube, if you search dropshipping, is nothing like what you see today, right? There weren't so much free courses. There weren't that many gurus. Yes, there are, but there just weren't that much information. We really had to scrap and dig from forums, from Facebook groups, from DMing people, from going to basically searching Google, scrapping information here and there, asking friends how you do it, just scrapping whatever we can find online to basically piece together the information that allowed us to really, continue crushing it, to sort of kickstart the dropshipping business, right? And I believe I've touched base on this before as well, right? As an entrepreneur, as a founder, right? You need to sort of know everything, every aspect of the business, before you start hiring, right? And of course, us started, right? Of course, the right time, the right place. I think within the first month, we hit our 7-figure month, right? First time as partners. And that was when we knew in the first month that we were onto something big, right? Something that's going to change our lives. So day in, day out, it was 8 o'clock wake up, 9 a.m. wake up, all the way to 4 a.m., 3, 4, 5 a.m. And breaking down every single day. It was product research. Every segment of time that I was doing product research. I was doing Facebook ads. I learned video editing myself. I learned how to edit on Adobe Premiere. I had my own Photoshop skills. Of course, it was not the most efficient way to do it, but basically, I knew every aspect of the business: how to do ad copy, how to do a good image ad, how to do a good video ad, right? And similar and all the way at night, I was going through customer service. I was running through what were the people asking, what kind of issues, what kind of refund issues are we getting, right? Understanding every single aspect of the business, and that is exactly what you will need to succeed in whatever business you're doing, right? A full understanding, a full responsibility of your entire business, right? A lot of like entrepreneurs, like, start off like business thinking, oh, I want to just be taking care of this part of the business and outsource some part, right? Yes, that's fine as well, but that is definitely something that might potentially be a missing piece for you to really push the needle forward in order to make the business work, right? And just exactly, that was the kind of determination, that was the kind of grit that we basically had to do, right? Austin, often, yes, it was 4, 5 a.m., right? Into the morning, we slept a few hours, 4, 5 hours, wake up, rinse and repeat, 7 days a week, right? Full responsibility of every aspect of the business, understanding, and all doing that while continuing to learn new stuff. Doesn't mean, oh, a lot of people sometimes as well, when they hit their first million, oh, they go, oh, they have that aura, oh, I made it already, right? Oh, I made it big, buy their Rolexes and all, and everything. But for us, it was continued learning, going to masterminds around the world, going to US, going to Shopify's. Back then, Shopify helped masterminds, and they invited like some of their top drop shippers around the world to US, and continue learning from like sort of like the top experts around the world and networking, right? I think that also is a very important aspect as an entrepreneur, right? And never stop learning.
Basically, to kind of like chime in here, so I believe, of course, I believe in working efficiently, right? But you also have to understand the circumstances. When you're a one-man show or your two-man show, when you get started, it's not like you have your full dream team that you have right from the get-go, right? So if you don't have that, work ethics is the minimum requirement that you have to have, right? So obviously Evan is not like this. He wasn't like a hustler. All right, I have to expose you a little bit, Evan. Right? He wasn't like a hustler right from the get-go, right? Obviously, like the system, the education, indoctrination, like, and having like when Evan was more in college, my mom was a little bit like doing slightly better than when I was in college, right? So he has the luxury to kind of like finish college, go out with his friends, like having a more chill kind of life, right? But eventually I told him like, hey, like if you wanna be my partner, you have to fucking prove to me that you deserve the shares that I'm gonna give you, the equity that I'm gonna give you as a partner. I said that right to him right from the start. Right from the start, I set my expectations right from the get-go, right? Because expectations, the alignment of expectations is very important. Part of when it doesn't matter if it's your brother, your family members, or your friends, or your business partner. The alignment of values and goals is very critical, right? I'm going to say that again. The alignment of values and your goals with your business partner is super important, because if you don't align on that right from the get-go and you don't set your expectations, for me and Evan is a little bit different because I got him into my business, right? So I have to tell him, here are kind of like here's kind of the vision of where we want to go. Are you aligned? What kind of expectations do I have for you to catch up with me? Because I told him, if you continue on a normal path, right? You continue on a normal path, you're never gonna catch up with me, given that I have so many years ahead of you on experience, right? You can't just fake 10 years of experience in 1 year, right? You have to put in triple, quadruple the efforts. You have to put in double, quadruple the efforts to, study, learn, level up, execute, go through like, the whole equation in order to really catch up, right? And of course, my goal is, of course, for Evan to kind of supersede in all his areas that he can do, right? So when we're starting out, we are kind of like a two-man team, right? We're kind of packing our own stuff because we don't have a lot of money, and we're kind of like brokies at that point of time, right? So yeah, Amazon, we made some money, but we have to save every single penny, right? It's not like you can start splurging money because you made 10K per month. That's not the point, right? We understood what it takes for us to scale the business, right? So which is why when you hit an opportunity that's fucking good, don't stop. There's no time for sleep, right? Which is why Evan is like scaling. He's waking up at the midnight, checking out the Facebook ads. How do we scale more? Oh shit, this ROAS is 10. This ROAS is 3, 4, 5. All right, let's scale this ads, right? There's not a lot of automation at the point of time. So which is why Evan, when Evan was sharing 3, 4, 5 a.m., for me, I don't care. It's like that's necessary for you to be operating at such a high level, because that's required to succeed. Obviously, I'm not asking you guys to fucking just grind till you die, but I think if you don't have that mindset to fucking hustle, I think that's the minimum expectations of what an entrepreneur needs to happen, right? Their work ethics needs to be top tier. If you don't have a top tier business partner in terms of work ethics, you're gonna have a difficult time. Difficult time. So I remember I asked one of my best bought friends, one of my best friends, okay, in my early days. We're still good friends. It's just that like we don't have similar work ethics, and he's kind of young at the point of time. So in 2010, I made quite a bit of money from from e-commerce. I was probably making like 100 200K from 2018 to 2010. Then I wanted more. I wanted to be more aggressive. So I started the Groupon clone in China, right, in Shanghai, and I poured all my money into it, because that at the point of time I told you guys, I felt a little bit insecure. I felt a little bit shameful doing e-commerce, because there were like not a lot of people were doing e-commerce then. It's like people would feel like, what kind of dodgy shit you're doing, right? So naturally I would I want to fucking raise a few $100 million like Groupon. I want to live the American dream. Those are kind of like the vision, right? So I started the startup not knowing what it takes to become like, raising funds and all this. It's so crazy, so hard. So at the point of time, I asked my friend, hey, do you want to be business partners? Let's start this startup. Sold him the vision, blah blah blah, and he's okay. He said, let's do it. Long story short, we're super misaligned, because he comes from a like rich family and I come from a like poor family, right? So naturally for him, it's like everything is like, like good, right? He doesn't have the grit, he doesn't have the drive. So every single day while I'm working my ass off, he's kind of like chatting with his girls, his girlfriend, and all these different people. So the funny shit was, I told him like, look, bro, like you should focus. I said, you should, my expectations. I'm injecting my values into him because like he's not performing, right? So I said, hey, like, what's up, man? Like, you need to put in more efforts. Like, why are you chatting the entire day, right? Just so not focused. And I said, like, hey, you shouldn't use MSN to chat with your. You shouldn't use MSN to chat with your girlfriend during work hours, right? He said, okay, sure, no problem. Guess what he did? he fucking just used Skype to continue chatting with his girlfriend because I said MSN. That's how misaligned we are, right? I'm just sharing like a real life story with you guys, right? I'm just sharing a real life story with you guys so that like you guys understand how misaligned we are in terms of like our vision and our goals, right? So that's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy, right? So super important, right? So I want to kind of like also kind of like I wrote something here. Let me kind of like pull it up, right? When finding the right partners, it's always good. It's always good to understand your vision of where you want to build your company to first, right? That's first. First. Your partner, your potential business partner needs to be able to see your vision because if he doesn't see your vision, you're not going to get his buy-in. Okay? You're not going to get his buy-in. Instructions were not clear. That's fucking funny, bro. Yeah. So, right. If he doesn't see your vision, he's not going to buy in. Obviously, he's not when he's not going to buy in, obviously he's not going to put in his effort, right? So, know how to know yourself first, know your vision, right? And of course, have the shared values that you would like to see within the company. A lot of times it's when as a founder, usually you will put your values into the company because that's what you believe in, right? For example, Capital Club, trust and respect, right? Me and Evan, we believe in trusting and respecting people, right? So that's one of the values. And of course, all our employees, all team members, we treat them with trust and respect, right? So that's part of my value, which is why I believe that is a value I would like to see within Capital Club as well, right? Same goes for all our partners at Capital Club. So you need to understand what are your values, and you have to find for someone who shares your core values and your beliefs, because having all those similar aligned principles would form a strong foundation for the partnership itself. Okay. Mutual respect is the next one. You need to find someone that you don't have to find someone that kind of looks up to you or vice versa. You look up to him or whichever, but you guys need to have mutual respect, because if this person doesn't respect you, like as a friend, as a business partner, he's not going to respect you when shit happens, right? When quarrels happen, and unhappy moments is 100% bound to happen, right? Conflicts, clashes is going to have big problems, right? Okay, the other one I want to kind of also mention is like I usually like to find people who can communicate at least okay. You know, I don't really want to find people that's like, like the super introverts or people that don't express or don't know how to communicate well, because that's so easy to have misunderstandings, right? So easy to have misunderstandings. The other one is like someone that has, it's hard to understand, but usually trust and loyalty is important in the partnership. But it's some you guys will be thinking, oh, how do I know if I can trust this guy, right? How do I know if he's gonna the loyal kind of friends, right? So it's not easy. Sometimes it's a hit and miss, but the easiest way to do that is kind of do your due diligence with like his circle of friends. Who are his friends? Who are his ex-partners? What are the companies that he worked in, right? You need to understand all of his past, like why, especially if it's like, if I'm investing in someone, right? If I'm investing in someone with money, like I'm definitely gonna know this person inside out, right? So one of our mistakes in the past, Evan, remember, like the
Yeah.
Garv guy, yeah. So there was a time, I think in 2019 or 2018, there was a guru, right? There was a kind of ecom guru guy. There was kind of like highly respected in the space, and he kind of just hit us up. Like he came to one of my events, my big event in Singapore with 1,000 people, and he just came like, and he was a nice guy at that point of time, right? Then of course, when he came to us, I felt okay, potentially this might be a good opportunity, right? So he wanted us to collaborate because we have a lot of like potential students who needs help with running their ads when we had the old Facebook group. And I don't have time, right? And he has good results. He has good results. And so he said, "Hey, Steve, like, why not? Why not? If you don't have time to kind of, support all this like members who wants you to help them with that, why not you send them to us, right? We can set up a company together. We can service them. I can bring in all my guys." I was like, "Yeah, sure. Like, potentially, let's talk, right?" So, given his reputation in the space, that kind of clouded my judgment. I was like, "Okay, sure." Like, I didn't do my ideal due diligence process because usually I can smell bullshit from a mile away, right? So when he reached out, like, I was kind of like, "Hey, not bad. This might be a potential business that doesn't require a lot of our efforts. We just have to send, our referrals to him and whatnot." So long story short, this guy ended up to be a big scammer, big time scammer with really bad intentions, really, really bad intentions, trying to scam me and Evan in the company and trying to just kick us out of the company, trying to just like take over, force us out and everything. So luckily, our reputation in the e-commerce space was like good, right? So we don't have like when we kind of we when I kind of posted it in my group, like what happened, people were furious. People were furious. How can this even happen, right? So I literally destroyed this guy's like career overnight because I kind of like I kind of shared what happened, and so many people start coming out like, "Hey, this guy did the same thing, blah blah blah," and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, and as me and Evan were kind of reviewing our that lesson, what happened, I realized it was because of we didn't verify and we didn't do our proper due diligence because we thought, given his online presence, he might be a good guy, right? He seems like a decently sincere guy, but you don't know what this guy is thinking about, right? So if I had done my due diligence, had I not been like clouded by like or put him in a pedestal thinking that he's the ideal partner, that wouldn't have happened, and that wouldn't put wasted our time. We wouldn't have to go on through all these different sagas with this guy and whatnot. So that's kind of like a big learning lesson for ourselves because I've been cheated by so many partners. It's like I think I can't even count with my 10 hands, right? I've been cheated, scammed, stole my inventory, like used my name for programs, and and I had to pay for everything. There's so many, right? But all these lessons are important because that builds up my bullshit filter eventually, right? I started building up my bullshit filter higher and higher and higher. Now I literally can smell bullshit away, like a mile away. Obviously, I still have to filter through a lot, but that's kind of like the lesson that I've gained from kind of working with him, right? So yeah, I just want to kind of share this with you. Evan, do you want to kind of chime in on that as well?
Yeah, I think the scary thing about that is they came like this guy Garth came in with ill intentions, right? Which is honestly, I believe, is one of the hardest to sort of like guard against, right? He came in, oh, let's do this together. I think it was sort of like, I think back then when it's sort of like he wanted to use our name to sort of like spearhead this agency, use our name, bring in all the clients, and sort of like in a way use that company to sort of like scam people, right? It was kind of scary. It was a kind of scary thought that, how could that even happen? As much as I believe at the end of the day, we all go out sincerely to look for partners, right? Be it similar for you guys, sincerely to look for partners. But sometimes it's just really, really hard to be out 100% fail safe. There isn't like 100% way to do so, but I just feel that at the end of the day, you need to be definitely do your due diligence, as what Steve said. Do your due diligence and have a good grasp of probably this guy's personality. Have some internal questions that you sort of like want to ask, like sort of his journey and everything. Sometimes, you might just pull out a red flag or two. Thinking back in hindsight, there were actually a few
Red flags, right,
red
Evan?
flags.
But we
Yes,
sort of
red flags.
oversee it because there was
Yeah,
kind of like the we
because
thought, yeah.
we were sort of like clouded by judgment, and of course I think one of the thing is that he also gave sold us the dream. It's, oh, I'm gonna bring in this amount of I'm gonna spearhead this business, or and sort of sold us the dream of the potential numbers that we potentially can get. So I think that is also like a sort of fantasy. We're sort of like sold into that fantasy that when we saw the red flag, that we sort of like buried it, like we chose to ignore it in hindsight. So I think it's important, right? I do see some people, posting in the chat just now, saying things like, oh, I had two partners that failed, or I had a bad partner, right? I think it's important to sort of like look back from time to time, right? To sort of like reflect on what could have been done better, or what could have been what how differently could you have that done to sort of like uh change the dynamics, or save the partnership, or maybe made it better, right? I think a lot of people, I think I also touched base on this when a little bit on e-com stuff, like when you run ads, when you do mistakes, you just move on, right? I think it's important that as entrepreneurs, we always look back at our mistakes on, and reflect on how to do it better the next time when it happens.
So actually, like, I think when me and Evan, our character is kind of different, right? I'm the more aggressive kind, right? Evan is more like, hey, be careful. So I want to share this as well because like you have to understand every partner's strengths and weakness, right? So my trait is aggressive, like all in, right? Which is why when I lose everything, I lose everything, right? That's kind of like not exact all in, but I have a backup plan instead. So what happened was when there's opportunities that come, usually if there's risk, Evan will be the one that's pointing out, okay? But when both of us, me and Evan, was like fucking excited at something, man, fuck. The chances of like it being a shitty investment or a deal or a project is like really, really high, right? Because we would have like fantasies. Oh wow, this is a really good potential project, right? And so, which is why we laid down some boundaries. Like when both of us are excited, we have to double, triple, quadruple check, because when both of us lost like the seat belt, shit's gonna happen, right? So that is why we kind of have a mutual agreement. Like when some things are too good to be true, we have to approach it with caution. We have to approach it with like double checking, understanding the background of this project more, checking out the financials, assessing the risk, conducting reference checks with this person, assessing culture fit with this person. So all these different things you need to really understand. Okay, if not, like if everyone is just doing this, I mean, we lost so much money investing in shitty products, right? Into like projects that don't work. So when people want to partner up with you guys, usually they will be like super excited. Need to be in a calm state, all right? Navigate it with a flow. You have to kind of go with the flow, understand like what's in it for you and what's in it for your partner, right? What's the vision, understanding how do you contribute, because you don't want to get into a partnership whereby you can't contribute, or the potential partner that you're getting into the business is not able to contribute for you, right? Because bringing on someone, you need to know exactly what is the person's roles and responsibilities, right? You don't want to be bringing on someone, oh, because I don't know, like I need help with this. No, be specific. If you need, for example, like a CMO partner, be specific. What is the CMO going to do? What is his roles and responsibilities, right? What do you expect him to do, right? Because if you don't know what is your profile for your CMO or your CEO or your COO or whichever, you're gonna naturally just kind of like be lost. And when he comes in and he starts to not fulfill his side of his deal, you'll be like, oh fuck, this wasn't what we discussed, blah blah blah, right? So be clear with your expectations, right? Be clear with your requirements, be clear with your expectations, so that you guys would know where to find the right partner. Okay. Alrighty. So wanted to share this with you guys because the journey of being an entrepreneur is like not as straightforward as what everyone thinks, right? So having all this in place would let you guys understand better on how to navigate business, what's required, what are the traits that's required, what kind of like resilience you need, and how do you navigate better. But of course, with business, it's always the process is always usually more or less the same, right? It's always like ideating the idea, right? Thinking of the $1 billion idea, the $1 million idea, like what do you want to do, right? And of course, after you have the idea, how do you validate your idea, right? A lot of people would do research, right? So Facebook ads is the best way to validate your idea, or crowdfunding, right? Posting in forums, right? Your circle of friends, get validation for your ideas, because a lot of people is like, most people are like that, including myself. I usually call it like founder's blindness. You would think your product is the best in the world when you started, like especially in startups, which is why majority of the business fail, or majority of the startups fail. Majority of the startups don't last more than a few years, because a lot of times all those startups, they raise a bunch of money and they start burning out, right? They run off cash flow and they start closing down, right? So which is why it's super important to be able to validate your ideas, right? Proof of concept, test it out, run some ads, test it. It doesn't matter if it's of course, if it's a retail business, it's slightly harder. Like what I'm referring to is more like, e-commerce, online business proposals, all these different concepts. It's like easier barrier to entry, so that you don't need to invest like few $100,000 in order to test your concept, right? Of course, if you're selling something physical, you can do like prototypes to kind of see the product, get the community hyped up, build your brand. Of course, then eventually trying to sell to the market, doing ads, sales and marketing, going distribution, customer retention, lifetime value, the whole ecosystem, right? And of course, eventually, a lot of people would love to eventually exit their brand, sell sell their business, or of course, there's other plays as well, going listed, IPO, acquired by PE. There's a lot of different routes, right? So knowing where you want to go, obviously not everybody would know from day one, but at least understanding what are the potential paths that would open up if you got when you start this business. So for example, when I invested in one of the DTC brands, which is a mommy's brand for babies, I know from the start this brand is gonna freaking take years, right? It's gonna take years before it's gonna see good margins, because like with a DTC brand, you need inventory, you need like a lot of marketing budget, branding budget, all these different things. So 3 years later, now we're only in the midst of getting into like all the retail stores in one of the, I forgot what's the name, but one of the good supermarkets across the entire Canada, right? So after 3 years, after working so hard for 3 years, like we finally managed to sign a purchase order with one of the biggest retailers in Canada. So after that, our plans is to get it into US, right? But I don't run that side of the business. I just get a report every single month. I get on call with my partners. All right, what's the deal? Okay, Steve, we need a bit more funding. We need to raise a bit more money. Would you like to continue investing? I was like, okay, sure. I'm really 3 years deep into this project. But that is the kind of trust that you need to have with partners, right? Some of my partners, I don't even talk to them like the entire year. The only time I talk to them is like, hey, they'll message me. Those kind of partners are the best fucking partners. They leave you alone. They leave you alone. They only come to you if they really needed help. And the other time that they come to you is like, hey, bro, time for dividends. That's the favorite text I would love to receive from my partners, right? Like, hey, this year not bad. We have $1 million in dividends to split. Like, tell me where to send your money. That's the best tax I usually love to get at the end of the year, because usually a lot of my companies, I don't like to split money like frequently. Like, my style is like all or nothing, right? I don't want to split money in the middle of the year, because I believe in scaling the company, because I'm not interested in any companies that's always splitting money, because if you split all the money, you don't have the money to grow, right? And that's going to put the company in a situation that's going to hard to scale, right? So usually my expectations with a lot of my partners is like, we only split money once a year, right? We set okay, how much do we want to split per year? 20%, 30%, 40%. Let's say that. Let's set that in place. Let's have that in ingredients. Then we will split that. You can't be splitting money in the middle. For example, if we start doing a purchase order and we start splitting that money, that's not gonna work, right? So, which is why having the right partners is great. And the thing here is like, I figure out that I can't do everything myself, right? Evan can do everything for me at the same time, right? So, which is why when I started building and scaling my business, I started to have more and more partners. At peak, I have about 25 business partners across all different companies, right? Across my software, across my fulfillment, my agencies, my e-com stores, my Amazon FBA, my education, my Airbnb investments, all these different things, right? So I'm grateful, because I think it was also because I've been through so much shit, right? Maybe I've also integrated all my lessons, and the universe presents really good partners for me, right? So, and I've taken the opportunity to kind of like support and give value to my partners, and I always want to be able to provide value and support them through as a friend, as a partner in all areas, right? So if my business partner needs help with this, oh, I'll be always the first one to be there, right? And and when you start giving back and you start receiving, it kind of like becomes a full circle. Okay, so eventually I have to cut up some of my partners, not because I don't like them or whichever, is because I have too much, right? I have to focus on which ones I'm more passionate in. So some of my ex-business partners, when I don't want that venture anymore, I just like, all right, just take all the shares. You don't have to pay me, just take it, take it. And one of them went on and sell that business for 400K. I was like, fuck, I should have given him that. Just kidding. But I'm happy for him, but in a sense, it's like, how do you support your partners, and how do you exit when you don't feel a part? Because for me, if I feel I'm not being able to support because of my lack of time or whichever, I don't want to get involved, right? I don't want to get involved. So that's kind of like what I want to kind of like share with you guys as well. Evan, do you have anything to kind of like chime in?
Not really. Yeah, I think it's important for you guys to know that as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of hard work and time behind the glamour, right? And I'm sure we used to be very like Instagram, showing a lifestyle. Right now, and people always think, oh, you guys got it easy, you guys made it easy and all that. But just understand that behind the curtains, it's hard work, hard work, hard work, right? And I truly believe not just for entrepreneurs, for singers, for actors, for athletes, right? It's all hard work, right? I'm sure I'm not sure if you guys seen this. Go YouTube, right? Search I think Ed Sheeran, right? And Ed Sheeran, he was on the show, and people think that, oh, he has talent, right? He got it easy because he has the talent, and he actually reviewed like how bad his singing was back in the days, and he says all hard work, right? And I'm sure for like tennis players, NBA players, I'm sure if you have heard the Mamba mentality, Kobe, right, getting in hours earlier than the other people, getting into practice. It's all hard work, right? But of course, as entrepreneurs, we work hard, but we work smart as well, right? And at the end of the day, putting in the grind I'm sure the hard work will pay off eventually.
Thank you, Evan. All right, let's open up the floor for a few questions before we kind of wrap up. So, mods, help us kind of like if you have any questions, raise up your hand. Standard protocol. We're gonna bring you on stage, right? When you come on stage, open up your webcam, introduce yourself quickly, your name, where you're from, your age, and your question. Okay. All right. Let's pick some people up. Okay, let's have Jake first.
Hi guys, let me get my camera on. So I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. Really nice event. I'm really happy that I could join. Let me see. I don't have anything weird behind me now. Let me put on my highlights. Sorry, guys. But yeah.
All right, Jake.
All right, Jake here. It's nice to see you guys here. So I'm from Poland. What I do right now is I transition from like agency model to more of like education space because I that's my passion, and I also like to have big range of customers like it is in education, right? You don't have like one or two customers like in agency, so I feel like the businesses are a little bit more stable. So I'm 23, 24 right now, and what I do now is I work with my friend. We sell courses that are focusing on music, but I feel like that's not the best niche to be inside. And I was thinking about transitioning to something else. Uh, However, I work now in a Polish market, and I was wondering because I hear two opinions, and I think more people might be interested in that topic as well. So I'm thinking, hey, the English market, right, is such a big market that probably it's hard to compete, and there's a lot of people. But if you hit it big, and you make so much more money. But at the other side, you have those like on the last call you were saying about like Asian markets like Poland, like Malaysia, and countries like this. Like those are not that tapped, but the potential is not that big. Do you have anything that you could share that could help people like me? That could
100%.
yeah, that would be
100%.
great to see.
I will share a story for one of my friends who does the Singapore market. How do you know the population of Singapore market?
Not really. I'm
So
moving to Malaysia now, so I'm really excited.
Singapore is a 5 to 6 million population market. It's definitely one of the smallest in terms of population around the whole world. So
Mhm.
when we were doing drop shipping and everything, we never sell to Singapore because it's just a fucking small market, right? Guess what? One of my friends built 0 to 300 in 4 years, just the Singapore market.
Yeah.
So but the reason why he could sell 200-300 million is because he's selling high ticket products, right? Big like furniture related, kind of like electronics, all those different products are considered high ticket products. But the thing here is a lot of times people underestimate how powerful if you are number one in your market. I'm not sure what's the population in Poland, but I assume it's
It's
bigger
like
than
40 million, something like this. 40
okay,
million.
great.
But
So that's eight
the
times
very
more.
difference here is that, we have a different currency, right? So for example, if like, let's say US market, people earn like, let's say on average, like 40, $50,000 dollars. Then in Poland, they earn like 40, 50,000, Polish currency. And it's around like $10,000, something like this. So the difference is pretty huge.
So in order to, I would highly recommend to dominate in emerging small markets because it's so much easier, right?
Yeah.
It's really so much easier to compete because everybody's just like it's all red oceans, right? If you're able to identify those niches and and dominate those to become top three, 100% you're not talking about like 40, 50K kind of like
Hmm.
revenue,
Yeah.
right? For
No,
those.
no, no.
So you have to understand how can you be number one? Not number two, not number three. Top three is okay. But if I want to go for small markets, I will want to be one of the best, one of the biggest, right? So there's, as you see,
Yeah.
a lot of times people would say, "Oh, drop shipping is dead. International markets are so hard. English speaking markets are so hard." So how did people start transitioning? They start going to smaller markets. Oh, Europe market, Germany market, France market, Spain market, all this European Union countries, they all started building dedicated stores and sites to kind of sell to those markets, and a lot of people did very well, right? So don't underestimate those markets, because if you are a good player and you know how to play those markets and you start building your personal brand or your brand there, eventually it's going to take time for sure. You're not going to get to number one in a few days, a few weeks, or a few months. But understand, if you can do that, it's going to be like very lucrative for you, right? I don't see. And then once you have that foundation, you can start expanding into all these neighboring different countries, potentially speaking the same language, or like expanding into European countries or whichever, right? So the sky's the limit, to be honest. And I would highly encourage people to go into like niche markets.
Mhm. And how do you feel about, because in education there are many niches, right? You can go to, like, you can go with make money online, you can go with like anything, to be honest. I partner up with my friend who has some sort of an audience now, so I think it's a lot easier to sell. I'm still gaining experience. We're both learning a lot, and we are making, I would say, good money. But always the green is always green on the other side. But my question is, because I look on those different niches. For example, like make money online, you can sell a course even for like $2,000, $5,000, $10,000. But in this niche, I feel like also, because we have two products. One is going after beginners in music, and one is for like more advanced people. But maybe it's like my limiting beliefs, but I feel like how much can people pay to make music, and because it's not that lucrative. Like, you don't have, like, if I teach you how to become a good IT or building websites, then you can use that skill and become someone, right? With music, I feel like it's very limited, and the chance of you becoming someone in the music industry is very small.
I don't agree, because it's like the gold rush, right?
Yeah.
The old times California gold rush. How many people actually mine the gold, right? Not a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
right? But who made money? People selling the shovels, right? Levi's made
Mhm.
money. All these people. So if you're selling to people who wants to pursue, those are their passion. Obviously, I don't know the industry well enough to give you
Yeah.
advice, but I don't think it's fair to say that you can't make money there. It's really more about testing your product, understanding your price points, understanding what price point resonates with people, doing your research in the market, knowing who's the top, knowing who exactly is the the best performing offers in those markets, and doing then reverse engineering those offers and sell something that's better and has more features, more selling points, and being able to really transform people to become who they want. That's really the
Mhm.
journey, right? Being able to sell something that's able to bring people through the transformation stage to become who they want. Maybe, oh, maybe I can learn how to do a DJ music within like 3 weeks from learning from you or whatsoever, right? So
Mhm. Mhm.
know exactly what your USP and know exactly what your offer, and of course have like also knowing who's your top competitors is very important. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm. Can I also have another question? I don't want
No,
to take
sorry,
too much more.
we have
Sorry. All
to,
right.
yeah,
All right. But thank you very much, Steve. Thank you very
no
much for the
worries.
insights.
All the
Very
best.
grateful. Thank you. That's for you.
Alrighty, we have Glitch21090. Welcome.
Welcome, Steve. Tan, how are you? Hope you are doing good.
Yes, sir. Do you have your camera
Ye-
on?
yes, I will try. Hopefully it will. Let me see. Okay, perfect.
All right, introduce yourself, your name, where you're
Yes, sure.
from, your age.
Okay. Well, my name is Karim. From Morocco, but I live in France right now. I'm a software engineer, and at the same time, I'm doing my own businesses like e-commerce and also building like a SaaS, software as a service, right now. And my question is like, how do you deal with failure? Like sometimes you are trying to build something, but you don't get the results. Like you don't see a result like at the moment, and you need to stay like positive. Even like for example in e-commerce, if you test so many products and you have no results, and you feel like, oh shit, this is not working or something like that. Should I go like just other products and stuff like that? Or even like when you are trying to build like a software as a service and you don't know if it's gonna work or not, like how do you deal with that? That's my question in general.
For me, it's for me it's lenses, right? It's perspective.
Mhm.
Knowing how to understand what failure means is what is important, right? So dealing with failure, you have to understand dealing with failure is an inevitable part of the journey towards success,
Yes.
right? And to me, the journey towards success, the road to success is always under construction, right? And what's required to get you to success is the lessons that you learn from the failures that
The
pushes you
failure.
forward
Yes.
towards your path to success. So if you're able to have those lens and those mindset in place, you would know that this is an inevitable part of the journey, right? I
Yes.
think I think Confucius said something like, "Our greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising every time we fall." I think that's kind of like what he said, right? So if you're able to really understand that concept
Yeah.
and fall down one time, pick yourself up. It's just the same basic concept that parents would tell their kids, like, "Hey, get the fuck up," fall and just get up. And for me, it's
Yes.
like iterations. Like a lot of times when people like would expect drop shipping to be easy, starting a social media marketing agency to be easy. No, like not that's not true, right? Testing products takes conviction. It's like digging for gold, right? If you dig and dig, most people would just give up when you're so close. You never know how close you are to the goal if you just give up, right? If you want to give up, you need to understand why. Okay, maybe you ran out of money. That's inevitable. Okay, sure. All right,
Yes.
let's build up my funds again, right? But if you're convicted and you know your path, your product, you've done your research, you have more product market fit, then it's not, those failures are just part of reiterating your product and relaunching it to people that really would buy your product, right? So how do I deal with failures? Just suck it up, suck it up, learn from those lessons, have a
Yes.
positive mindset. That's what really got me through my darkest times, right? And at the end of the day, if you see hope and vision is what gets you past your darkest times. When I lost everything, when I was a millionaire, that was
Yes.
tough. That was fucking tough. That was dark. And when you lose everything, the first thing you want is just make back money so fast, right? You just want to
Yes,
make
exactly.
fast money. You start getting distracted by fast money, which is what a lot of people do. They get distracted. Oh, the grass is greener on the other side. I gave up doing my DTC, my e-commerce, and went into like forex trading, right? Because I was like, oh, I'm gonna make $1 million like in 3 months, right? Ended up losing all my shit, right? And that was like even worse. Got in depression, right? Living in a freaking small house, like one bedroom Airbnb kind of style, getting sort of like intimidated by the landlord, kind of like, oh, you're just a brokey, you're just getting my one room, all that kind of different shit, right? So it's how you change your perspective. So the moment I see like, okay, great, how can I turn this around? What needs to happen? How do I get out of my mindset? Right. And I start reminding myself, hey, the future is bright. I just need to get
Yes.
myself out of this shithole. Right. If I can do it in the start from before, I can do it again. Right. So conviction, having that mindset, mixing around with positive, good friends is super important to get you out of that state. But at the end of the
Yes.
day, I always believe you can only depend on yourself. right? Don't have the hopes like, oh, you want to depend on your friends, your family, or whichever. Those are supporting anchors. Those are not your core. Your core is still yourself. Okay, so that's what I want to share with you. And yeah, all the best.
Well, thank you. That was my question. Like that's it for me, and thank you.
All right, all the
Yeah.
best. All right, let's have last two questions. Maybe Evan, you can take the next one.
Sure.
Ari, I think you're muted.
There we go. Can I mean, there's a couple of people here. Whoever
You
wants to
can
go.
go first. Ari.
So, hey, hello, fellow glitches. Hello, Tans. Pleasure to meet you guys. Thank you so much for all the sauce you guys are spitting, first of all. My name is Ari. I'm 28 years old, about to turn 29. And I am a partner at a company called Jafton.com. We specialize in building mobile app development and software development for small, medium, and large enterprises. And the reason I got into this space is because, of course, as we can see, I mean, you can take a look at the platform we're on Discord, right? This is where everything's heading, right? It's to the digital space. So I'm one of the account executives, and I focus on acquiring clients, mainly high ticket sales, right? Software development is expensive, right? Our lowest budget projects is at 25,000. So I saw this niche, well, not niche, this industry, and got into it because it's where the future's heading, right? Everybody wants an app now for everything, right? That's just where the market is going and where the industry's heading. Um, right now, I'm traveling all over Latin America because I saw a big opportunity in the gap that there is in the technology that's available in the Latin American markets. And there's a lot of companies that are moving, a lot of operations over here, right? That's what you guys call geographical arbitrage. So you can grab a software that's already maybe in the US market. And if you see that there's a need for it in markets in other countries, you can just throw it in there and, fucking explode it if you know how to do your market research well and know how to penetrate the market. And of course, by knowing and networking around with people. I'll give you a perfect example. There's a
Sounds
app
like Rocket Internet, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a company here, a few unicorns already built out. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Rappi. It's basically a copy of Instacart and Uber Eats, and all they did really was grab a product over here, threw it into the markets in Latin America, and now it's a $4.5 billion company, right? So along the way, while I'm helping other entrepreneurs build their vision and co-founders build their software, ties into SaaS as well as the other glitch was um, mentioning. I'm trying to see what products I can bring into the marketplace here as well. I've been going to networking events, meeting people, going to small businesses to see how I can tie in technology into these markets so it brings value to people, right? I've already found a good few ideas. And I guess really my question to you guys is when you guys are following a narrative, whether it's in crypto, whether it's in the finance space, real estate, what is it that you guys tend to focus on more? What do you guys really look at when you're trying to penetrate a market with a product or a service?
For me, it's always skill, right? I usually like to firstly see the total addressable market, right?
Mhm.
Because if it needs to be something that's worth your time.
Of
That's
course.
usually the first thing I would see. And what kind of resources do I have on the grounds, right? So for example, if I was to do when I was doing the Vietnam market, I'm not doing it. So I have local partners who speaks the language, who
Of
knows
course.
the business model inside out, who are trusted individuals. So usually I'll source my partners from my network, from my community, from my partnerships, friends, circle, masterminds, and whatnot. And when I understand that, for example, when we were doing cash on delivery on Vietnam, we went from 0 to 300K in the first month, right? That's because I brought in my resources, my systems, my teams to empower them, but they were doing the execution. So we were doing the back end supporting stuff. So we understand where is our value add, right? So you want to get into partnerships with like all those companies. Of course, identifying what's the opportunity first, how big's the market, how are we going to target them, and which niche markets can you go in first and dominate those space, right? So for example, we identified a niche that we're going to get into, for example, baby products, right? Okay, within the big category of baby products, which ones is the easiest for us to get into first? Oh, maybe baby toys. Okay, baby toys. Within baby toys, what are the things that you can go into, right? I'm using e-commerce because that's kind of my background. But if you guys are going with softwares and whatnot, I think it's super easy because
It ties into everything.
yeah, you guys can do any, like there's like, especially emerging markets, their technology is so outdated, right? Right. It's super, like, especially traditional convention, like freaking ERPs, that's like fucking crazy. Like it's like so backdated, Windows style, everything, right? They don't know what it takes. When someone just comes in with a freaking great idea, slap it with the great UI, UX, that would fly, right? And start putting up a deck, raising funds, that pops. So I feel it's definitely a great move for sure. I think that model, like I know Rocket Internet proven and tested that. They just ripped off all these different brands and just starting. Of course, theirs is different because they have more funds, right? And they have made a big amount of bullet and war chest after selling their first company. I think that's the exact same model. What kind of like what Alex Homonzi or some of those guys are doing, right? They invest and they start scaling those products. For you, it's like, how can you come in with your value of like empowering them with technology advances so that they can dominate those markets, right? So one thing I could potentially share with you is like what one of my friends did was they would get free equity for those companies when they hit certain KPIs. So for example, if you can work with someone, okay, if let's say they're doing $1 million, you go to them like, I can double your business in 1 year using all this stuff, but I'm going to take 30% of your equity. So for them, as long as the increase, so they only take equity if they hit their targets. And that target means that even if the owner takes 100% of $1 million, it's better for him to take less equity because your revenue increases, right? And it's cool. As long as you can show them the numbers make sense based on what value you bring in, and you have certain KPIs and milestones to hit in order before your equity or shares are vested, that's a freaking no-brainer. Risk-free for most people, and you only get compensated when you've proven your results. I think if you can use that model and track all this, and you're a big enough team, oh man, like that's a really good business model.
And that's actually the approach I have been taking when I'm talking to these people. I do like a rev share model, and I say, hey guys, look, this is where you guys are at. Why don't we do a rev share based off of all the new business that's coming in, right? No risk to you with already what you have. Just focus on all the new revenue that I'm bringing in, and I'll take a percentage, a cut of all that new revenue that's being pumped into the business. Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's very smart, Ari. That's good. So like then once you have a case study, right? Once you start stacking your case study, I would definitely hire somebody who's like freaking good at presentations, creating decks, and start hiring a partnerships manager that can spearhead this initiative for you and the company, and start cold outreaching all these people on LinkedIn,
I've been
all
having
these
trouble
companies and everything.
finding someone that could help me with that. Do you know anybody you could recommend me to that could, work on those like the visuals that we present to people?
No, I don't. Most of our stuff are in-house. Too
Oh,
bad. But there's definitely people like that do decks for that. Like I can't remember right now, but if you just do like if you spend sufficient time on Google, like usually you will find like people. I'll usually find people that do decks for raising funds, pitch
for
decks.
raising pitch
VC
decks.
pitch decks presentation, search those keywords. I'm sure you can find a few. Check out their portfolio, check out how much they have supported like people fundraising. Like I don't think for your industry you need something that top tier, because all you need is more like aesthetics, because of most people within your target audience, they are not like super savvy VCs, investors. They're not pitching to like super savvy people. You need to know what clicks with those people, what are their pain points, and have all those pain points within those decks so that you hit all their hot buttons, so easy to close.
I'm wondering why we don't, and I'm sure you can, talk to Luke about this. How come Capital Club doesn't really focus on SaaS or software building? I feel there should be a course, especially because it's so scalable, right? And I think I forgot who said it. I think it was Ravikant, but the beautiful thing about software is there's no marginal cost to reproduce your product, right? It's in the fucking cloud. It doesn't fucking exist. There's no logistical, barriers. There's no investing in physical products, not having to worry about anything, right? It's just building. Basically, that's why it's called SaaS. It's software as a service. I'm wondering why Luke and you folks haven't really doubled down on a course around that. I feel like it would be, of great help to a lot of people, especially because nowadays with all the different frameworks that we have available, like no code, low code tools, it's really not that expensive. It might be even cheaper than starting, any other business.
That's because you don't know what's upcoming.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's 2.0 then. Okay, gotcha.
We have a
Alright.
lot of courses lined up. It's more so just like which ones are the top priorities. And of course, we have a small team with production and whatnot. It's going to take time. Like shooting, like every single course takes 3 to 4 months to produce, pre-production, post-production. It's not like we're shooting like, like low
Yeah.
quality like courses, webcam in front, standing like a couple of hours, done. No, like the amount of intentionality and the amount of like resources we have to pour into our courses is a
course.
lot, right? So definitely, like I have friends who've built 9-figure software companies. Like, it's not easy to find those founders who's kind of like busy scaling their business, been there and done that, and willing to kind of like spend put their face online doing a course with Capital Club. So it takes time for us to convince them, right? So, but we're gonna have like how to build a software business is definitely one of the courses that I really want to bring to Capital Club. For sure, that's something. And the reason why we're not building Capital Club with the software, because like we have a community to build, right? So that's kind of like our focus, and we don't really want to be like stretched so thin, kind of like with all these different things. If we ever get into softwares, it's an investment that Capital Club invests into. Definitely the model that we're going after more so is like more community based rather than like developing more and more different products ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, if you guys ever need someone to speak, I'm happy to fucking go out. Sometimes I just hop on here into the channels and we spit some sauce in there. So,
Yeah, I know. Like I know you, so good stuff, man. Keep
all
supporting.
right, brother. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. You guys are doing a great job, and I'll see you guys around.
All right, thank you, Ari. Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate it.
All right, guys. What do you guys think of tonight's session? Let me know in the chat. Let me know if you guys got value or if you guys learned something tonight. Let me know. Good call. Good call. Okay, good. Oh, we have another person. I thought okay. Last person. All right, Glitch8876. You're on.
All right, what's good? I just want to say appreciate the knowledge and wisdom, and it's been amazing to kickstart my day. My name is Colin Vidmar, and I'm 19 from the U.S. And what I do is biohacking and looking to start my e-com journey, but that's in the process, and crypto. But the main thing I do is biohack, and I take serious entrepreneur fit. And my question to you is, how should I go about taking the entrepreneur fit modules and bringing it to the marketplace, I'd say?
Bring it to the marketplace. What do you mean? I'm a bit confused.
So for me, I think my approach would be with personal brand and like breaking down what Nate teaches and bringing it in my own version, creating my own modules in a way, and going through Instagram, I'd say.
Got it. So you want to build your personal brand revolving fitness, biohacking around that industry, right?
Yeah, but I really want to show support and like make sure people know that it comes from Nate, because I love what he teaches, and how he teaches it.
To build your personal brand around yourself, the first thing is like you definitely need to start doing content, right? You need to do a lot of personal branding, a lot of content, a lot of workouts. Like definitely walk the talk of what you're gonna teach, right? I think at current stage, I think short form content is great. So definitely leverage all these platforms like IG Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, all these different things, and start creating content around what you're going to be teaching. And eventually, if you want to sell a course or you're going to build a community or whichever, that's kind of like your different path that you can choose. But building a personal brand is going to take time for sure, right? It's not something that you can build your personal brand within one day. So you have to invest the time to understand what kind of content really clicks, what kind of content do people want to see, what kind of like how do you really package yourself, how do you display like how do you create things that inspires, motivates people, or people that watch your content, they resonate with this, right? So for example, if you're doing biohacking, right, start doing more content. Like what are the top 3 tips that you can give people, for example, like if they want to do biohacking, and what does those things help them transform their journey in biohacking as well? So start with those, right? Start building more content will build your followings, right? From those followings, then you can put on more different kind of products to support those people who are on the same journey as you.
All right, sounds amazing, brother, and I appreciate that.
No worries. Have a good one.
Have a great one, brother.
All right, guys. So we're gonna wrap up things. We have a meeting to go with the team. Let me know if you guys like this. We're gonna like see how we can bring on more guests in the future. Can like to kind of come on Capital Club, drop some sauce, drop some golden nuggets with the team, right? All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. Have an amazing rest of your day or evening, wherever you guys are. And I'll see you guys real soon. And take care and have a good one. Peace out.